Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video. I'm going to talk about comic books. I'm going to talk about Spider-Man. I'm going to talk about the title of the new Spider-Man movie being revealed as Brand New Day, which is going to be kind of a huge problem, I think, because Brand New Day, One More Day, and Brand New Day are two of the least liked Spider-Man storylines of all time. Probably comic book storylines of all time. For those of you who don't know, in the comics, in I think it was about 2008, Marvel decided to undo Spider-Man's marriage to Mary Jane, and they never put it back. And a lot of fans are still pissed about it. And we're going to talk about that because they're doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on that. They are never going to put Spider-Man and Mary Jane back together like they were before. According to Tom Brevoort, who keeps opening his mouth and stepping in it. Now he's telling readers to just walk away from Marvel Comics. Just walk away if you don't like it. But I think naming the next Spider-Man movie that is not going to score a lot of points with comic book fans. Not that they care. Not that Disney or Sony cares what comic book fans think. If the general public likes it, it's going to make bank. So we're going to talk about all this spider drama. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. So yeah, the official title was revealed as Brand New Day at CinemaCon. And again, I think this is a bad idea. But speaking of bad ideas, let's talk about Tom Brevoort. And we've talked about this in multiple videos. They basically, Marvel has come out and said on multiple occasions, or Tom Brevoort has come out and said, rather, on multiple occasions that they're not going to put Spider-Man and Mary Jane back together. They're not going to undo One More Day, Brand New Day. And you're just going to have to deal with it. Or not. You could just walk away from Marvel Comics completely. Now, Tom Brevoort is the executive editor, I guess, is his title over at Marvel. And so, yeah, he's pretty high up the food chain. And maybe this is why they're doing it, or part of the reason why they're doing it, because Disney's going to, keep Peter unmarried in the movies. So we got to do that brand synergy thing. We can't have him being 30 years old, 35 years old, married in the comics, even though Ultimate Spider-Man did very, very well. Ultimate Spider-Man actually outsold Amazing Spider-Man last year. And it's very clear that people want this, but, they're not going to give it to you. So you can walk away. And I think a lot of people are walking away because there is no, this is a side tangent. There is no excitement around comic books anymore. We'll talk about the MJ as Venom thing or whatever's going on here too. There's no excitement around comic books anymore. People want to know why we don't cover comic books more on the main channel. It's because nobody cares. And I've said this before. When we first started out, we were covering more comic book news and all that. And there really is no point because so many people have walked away from Marvel and DC Comics, from the mainstream comic book industry, and they've never gone back. And look, I'm not delusional. I don't think that indie is ever going to completely compete with Marvel and DC head to head, right? Even though there's Image Comics, and that was a whole nother issue. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that indie is going to completely replace Marvel and DC Comics. I think it's a viable option for some people, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, oh yeah, my indie comic's going to outsell, whatever, Spider-Man. That's not going to happen. But really, the comic book industry needs a healthy Marvel and DC to survive, because that's what brings people to the comic shops, right? And if they're not coming to the comic shops, they're not going to pick up your indie title. I mean, yeah, they could go through crowdfunding, but that is the people that back books on crowdfunders are statistically a much smaller group than those who buy books, at the store or whatever. And the health of Spider-Man in particular for Marvel, and the health of Batman in particular for DC, I mean, they pretty much set the tone for the entire industry. And if those books aren't healthy, like, everything collapses. Although everything is collapsing right now because of the whole diamond thing. But let's talk about this. This is Tom Brevoort again, sticking his foot in his mouth and telling you to walk away. Tom Brevoort says, if you don't like unmarried Spider-Man, stop reading. This is coming from Bleeding Cool. Tom Brevoort recently wrote in his Substack about how the Peter Parker of the Marvel Universe remaining unmarried to Mary Jane is going to be a forever thing. He's never going to get remarried to Mary Jane. This weekend, he answered the criticism by asking, so nothing in Amazing Spider-Man is going to really matter in the long run. Then why should I care what happens in it? Getting rid of the marriage got rid of any sense of what happens in Amazing Spider-Man going forward, but the character will really, nothing with the character will really matter. I think you have a very limited grasp as to what constitutes nothing. He laid out the status quo and how it isn't always a status quo. Plenty of things have happened to Peter Parker and Spider-Man over the past 17 years, and most of them have mattered both to the character and to the audience. Things change in the world of Spider-Man all the time, always have. So sometimes he has a black costume and sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he's a school teacher and then he isn't. Sometimes he's married and then he isn't. And then sometimes Dr. Octopus takes over his body and he gets it back. It's all kind of the same thing. But as always, if you don't like Spider-Man without him being married to MJ, you can always stop reading it. Or simply read Ultimate Spider-Man at this point, whichever suits you. So he said before that Ultimate Spider-Man was an anomaly. It wasn't an indicator that fans really wanted Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson back together. It was the best-selling comic. I think it was either Ultimate Spider-Man or Transformers. Best-selling comic book of 2024. I mean, I'm sorry. When you say vote with your wallet, even if you vote with your wallet, it doesn't do any good, does it? Because they're still going to tell you you're wrong. If I were Disney, I'd be looking at this and being like, clearly people want married Spider-Man because that book outsold Amazing Spider-Man. Why is that? And they're just coming up with all kinds of excuses, right? They are, but he's right. If you don't like it, don't read it. I haven't read Spider-Man regularly in over a decade. And I don't care to. The more I see, every once in a while I'll dip in, maybe I'll check an issue out or, I'll kind of keep up with what's going on. I'm like, yeah, it just sounds horrible. Everything sounds so awful now. I don't want to read Amazing Spider-Man. I have no interest in it. It's, and my interest in Spider-Man really started to wane, during the Clone Wars. Yeah, it was a huge fan war during the Clone Saga, during the Clone Saga. And, that whole thing was stupid. And some people really like Ben Reilly, and I guess he turned out to be an okay character after the fact. But like, that was a huge punch to the gut when, I was heavy in the comics, because I'm like, everything I've known about Spider-Man over the last, the entire time I've been reading comics is a lie. And I hated that. I hated that feeling of being duped. And, when they do that for a short-term sales goal or whatever. So they did the same thing with Captain America. Oh, he's a Nazi now. He's Hydra. It usually the blowback is fierce, and people, when you lose people, they don't come back. I'm not saying you always have to keep the status quo, but there's a reason that manga is more popular, and it's for, multiple reasons why manga is more popular, but they don't do this sort of thing, this shock, just to give themselves a short-term sales bump. Right. It's about the story, the character. Yeah, there are shocking things that happen in manga, but it's about the long term, the long game. What is the story that the artist, the creator is trying to tell? And again, we're usually talking one or two people, usually one person being the visionary behind manga and, having a clear vision as to what they want the storyline to be versus Western comics, American comics, being treated like corporate product, for the most part, or an outlet for fetishism. Go on, that Harley Quinn book and so many other examples recently, and so many different creative teams. And there is no vision. There's no cohesive vision as to what Spider-Man should be, could be. And that's a problem. We don't have Stan Lee. We don't even have the guy like Jim Shooter, course correcting Marvel when they've clearly stepped off the path, right? And I'm not saying Spider-Man has to be the same forever, but clearly this is something people want. They want this. Now, this is Rich Johnson stepping in to say that, the 616 is fine, guys. Looking at the Bleeding Cool weekly bestseller list, the gap may have narrowed this week. Some people are doing just that, as Ultimate Spider-Man has quite the gain on 616 equivalent title 15 months in. Will that make everybody happy? No, of course it won't. This is comic books. Mary Jane may well have another blank partner to deal with right now. Yeah, so let's see here. What are we looking at here? So Ultimate Spider-Man is number 4. Amazing Spider-Man is number 6. Amazing Spider-Man is also $6. God, that's insane. $6 to be kicked in the crotch, $6 to be insulted. Whatever, So yeah, I'll spoil it. MJ is apparently Venom or part of Venom, and Paul, I don't know what the hell's going on with the Paul hipster loser she's married to, whatever, is Venom. I don't care. I really, truly don't care. I don't care. I'm not buying it. I think a lot of people are going to step off, and when they don't even care. When the people in charge of the comics don't even care. They're like, yeah, if you don't want to read it, don't read it. You never say that. You never say that. Stan Lee was a showman. Jim Shooter even was like, buy our books. Everybody should be like, buy our books, right? And they don't care. They don't care if you read comics or don't read comics. How the hell can you stay in business if you don't care about your product? You don't care about your customer base. I mean, 6 or 7 years after all this Comicsgate stuff happened, and nobody cares about the mainstream comic book industry anymore. They really don't. And there hasn't really been much change. I mean, we've gotten a couple of better books here and there. I mean, I actually do like the Energon books quite a bit. I still haven't checked out Absolute Batman. I just can't muster enough give a shit. Ultimate Spider-Man was pretty good the first couple issues. I have no desire to read Amazing. I just don't care. And every time you give people a jumping off point, especially with the price gouging, the prices going up, they're going to take it, right? They're going to take it. So don't do that. I mean, look, comics is going the Western comic book industry. I gotta be very careful. The direct market, it's going to implode. It's already imploding with the diamond thing and all that jazz. Actively telling people to walk away from your book. I mean, you're deliberately steering the ship into the iceberg. You're deliberately sinking the Titanic. What the hell is going on here? This is unacceptable. Any other business, if you told your customers not to buy your product for whatever reason, you'd probably be fired. But these guys, apparently they're lifers. They're nothing is going to change as long as they're there. So buy it, don't buy it. I don't care. Whatever. I don't care if you buy my stuff. What the hell kind of pitch is that? You should be super excited about every freaking book that comes out, and you're not. You're just not excited. Nobody at these companies are excited anymore. So why should readers be excited? So it feels like the early 2000s is a good place to end with. I've said before 2010, but I'm like, no. We'll go before One New Day. We'll go early 2000s. Early 2000s. 2000, pick a date. 2004. 2004 is the official end of Marvel. And then everything after that's been bad fan fiction. Apocrypha. You can take it or leave it. So I'm going to wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.